Greetings, fellow Bat fans. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And we're not going to get into any fancy intro or anything like that. This isn't under a banner. This is just a special podcast, a standalone podcast paying tribute to a man that we lost today on June 10th, 2017. A man near and dear to all our hearts. The real Batman himself, Adam West, has passed away, sadly. And so we're here to kind of give a somber tribute to the man, his life, his legacy, and how he'll be remembered. So, Dragon, let's start things off. Very sad occasion, of course. I mean, this just punched me in the gut, man. It really did. It really did. I mean, this might be one of the saddest celebrity deaths. I don't even want to compare them at this point. I mean, God, it's like, I thought that Carrie Fisher was the saddest celebrity death, and Carrie Fisher still gets to me. But this, man, I don't know. It's just tough. It's just tough. So when I first heard about this was, I'm guessing the way a lot of people heard about it was over social media. Essentially, it was just in a group chat, like someone mentioned that Adam West had died. And, of course, there's that instinct, like, Dragon, I'm sure we've been here before, where it's like, oh, no, is that really true? Oh, God, please just, it's like I wanted so badly for it to be like a fake news site or something like that, but no, I did my research. And indeed, at the age of 88, he has passed away. So very sad, Dragon. Of course, I think me and everyone else kind of remembers Adam West mostly from 60s Batman. Dragon, I have a very, very nostalgic fondness for the 90s era of 60s Batman when they were playing it on Nick at Night. I very much remember Nick at Night. I remember they even played it on Nickelodeon proper from time to time under their ridiculous hamster banner, which I won't get into that, but it's fond memories. And of course, Adam West appearing on Johnny Bravo was a big sort of like, oh man, so the guy who plays Batman is kind of like a funny guy who doesn't really take himself too seriously. And then that transitions over into Family Guy, and the rest is sort of history, Dragon. So what is your history with Adam West, and how did you first find out about this news?
Well, yeah, today's been terrible.
It has.
Just, I woke up this morning and just going through the news and just like pull up Yahoo and just like the first like they have like these little headlines, like these little small little blocks of pictures and stuff, like a little headline below it, and like the very left corner, it was just Adam. It was the image of him taking the cow halfway off, and Adam West dead at the meeting. I is somewhat similar to what I had with Carrie Fisher, but a little worse. It was just like Carrie Fisher. I was like, I had the exact the disbelief and just like the whole no, please let it be fake. But
right.
I knew in the pit of my stomach just instantly it was real. I screamed no. I couldn't believe it. It's not fair. It really did. Then it sunk in later in the day. Honestly, the best way I can describe my reaction to it, and this later in the day, just kind of struck me out of nowhere. It was just kind of like thinking of like I was going to pitch to you that we do something. I don't know. I knew we had to. Honestly, I never wanted to have this podcast in my life.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, this is the same sort of somberness we're going to get. God forbid when Stan Lee passes away. You know what I mean?
Essentially, folks. I mean, Adam West. I mean, he essentially is kind of the DC equivalent of Stan Lee in many ways.
In a lot of ways, yeah, at least just sort of like based on the charisma and the personality and the energy,
Exactly. Maybe I'll get a little bit more on that later. But my point is, it's the reaction I felt. It feels exactly like this, as silly as it might sound. I felt exactly like this when I was pacing around, just like taking it in, just hitting me. Is that when Logan was in the movie Logan, when he's burying Charles Xavier, he's trying to give the eulogy, and he can't say anything. There were no words. Every time I tried kind of thinking something or saying something.
It's funny, I kind of had a similar thing where I was like trying to write something on Facebook on my wall, and people were writing like R.I.P. Adam West, the one true Batman, stuff like that,
And I was kind of thinking one of
Dragon,
those.
I couldn't do it. I was right there with you. I didn't have the words. I was just like I have nothing. Like, this just sucks. you know.
Every time I was just trying to say something like that out loud, just kind of collecting my thoughts, I just like got really low, and I was in Logan's business. I was just like kind of like I couldn't say like Charles was by the water. I couldn't. It
still doesn't feel real. It really doesn't feel real to me yet.
It's anyway. So point is that was my my reaction to it. Anyway, so my introduction to Adam West though was it was basically first there was this I mentioned this before way back in the day. My introduction to 60s Batman as a concept was there was this Bravo listing way back in the like top 10 heroes or movies or shows, whichever. But I think it was movies because they were going for like the best superhero movies. They used to have these listings that came on Bravo. Nowadays, not so much, but they did. And I've shared this before where they're listing, I think they're talking about 89, and basically they're showing clips from the 60s movie to show the comparison between the 66 movie and the 89 movie. And back when I was a kid, I thought, oh my God, the 60s stuff was the movie and the 89 stuff was the TV show. And I'm saying, oh my God, this TV show looks amazing. And then, of course, very shortly after that, then I had the reverse. And okay, now I got it straight. So when I got it straight, but it's important. Once I got that straight, like which one was which, and then I knew 60s Batman, the collective whole that we all knew 60s Batman, except I didn't know who Adam West was. I just thought, okay, 60s Batman, that's it's the campy. It's the campy 60s Batman. I didn't really attach the name Adam West to who was like everyone else at the time had. So then, as time goes on, then I really knew. I got to know Adam West himself from Johnny Bravo first and foremost. That's where I knew the name Johnny Bravo. It's going chronologically.
Come on, Johnny. We're gonna save your mama.
That line just cracks Jeff up so much. Come on, Johnny, we're gonna save your mama. Just with all
the pathos and conviction in the world.
Absolutely, more on that later. But Johnny Bravo was the first away, and appropriately enough, then eventually Family Guy was the other one. I knew Adam was separate from Batman before I really kind of put it together. That. I'm sure maybe I've heard it, but I just never really kind of connected the dots, I guess, in my mind that Adam West was Batman. Because again, I from those two shows, I kind of knew him, and also Fairly Odd Parents. By Fairly Odd Parents, and by that time between Family Guy and Fairly Odd Parents, I kind of put it together. Like, okay, yes, obviously with the Catman parody that he is Batman.
Right.
It wasn't just then. I'm just saying that was like definitely at that point I had to before Fairly Odd Parents. I had put that together. So
this was before like Wikipedia and stuff where you could just look all this up on the fly.
Essentially, I was just saying it's kind of putting it together because again, I just knew Mayor Adam West, who was hysterical, and I was like, oh my God, Mayor Adam West is like the Adam West from Johnny Bravo, and the Adam West from the Fairly Odd Parents, and also Batman. So that's essentially that was my. That's my introduction to Batman. And of course, in terms of how I was introduced to the series, just the TV Land reruns. I had the TV Land days more. Tiki had the Nick at Night. I had
I had Nick at Night. You had TV Land.
Yeah, those were the reruns we were doing with it. Most of my reruns were King Tut and the introduction to the Jokers. Those are my reruns. So
I will say the King Tut episodes do stick in my mind as well.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay. So I guess let's just kind of go through his career as quickly as we can,
sure.
Sort of. I don't want to make this into like a whole retrospective or anything, but just kind of touch on some high points.
So Adam West, son of a farmer and a concert pianist. He had dreams of stardom as a lad. He did commercials. Of course, we know some of these commercials he's done very famously. Some of which got him the role of Batman, being Captain Quick, and he basically a James Bond parody. Going up against, it's very much a James Bond parody, except he was a naval captain who sold he was plugging Ovaltine essentially, like Nesquik and Ovaltine. And he also he was famous for like doing kids shows like Keeney and Popo, which is essentially a show with a monkey. So he just he was like an over. Absolutely. And what's really funny, what kind of got Adam West to start was he sent a photo of himself on a deranged, like really kind of sickly looking horse, and that kind of got him that got him the job at Warner Brothers. He got a contract with Warner Brothers for a lot of films in the span of a year, and that's where he basically was famous as being a Western star. He got a lot of work on Westerns. That's where it always got to start. And the most important one, this is kind of a fun little, by the way, in case anyone wants more on this, there's a documentary called Starring Adam West. I encourage everybody. It's going to be playing for a couple of days, obviously, in memoriam for him. So
yeah, I wish I could find a copy of it.
Well, it's on Showtime right now, but it's
I don't have Showtime.
I'm saying it can be found in some others, so that's why I can't really disclose. there was this movie he did with the most famous Western he did was in Italy, and it was called The Relentless Four. They shot in Italy.
Spaghetti Western.
Yes.
No, seriously, that's exactly what they're called. I'm not being funny.
This sounds really funny though.
No, I'm just saying that's a legit spaghetti Western. I'm not trying to joke about it.
I got you. I'm just saying kind of the. I guess never put that together. I'm like, that's why it's called spaghetti.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, you didn't know that. Yeah, spaghetti westerns are western shot in Italy. Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I learned something here today. Anyway, so the Relentless Four had this great moment. Basically, Adam West, much like the real Batman, he had a bat moment. He was riding through a cave, and bats came flying out. And the role he got the following year, a few months later, was Batman. Mm-hmm. So let's. Of course, it's based on his previous work. They saw the heroic jaw and everything. He's our guy. Let's get him for Batman.
Sure. Now, let me ask you this: when they cast Batman, early on, I'm curious, Dragon, because I don't really know all that much about it. Early on in the process for Batman, did they know how much of a comedy it was going to be?
Here's the thing. Adam West is the reason he's the one who really ran with the comedy. He picked up on it in the script, and he's the one who kind of. Okay. So I think it was there, but Adam West really perfected it. Got it. That's what intrigued him to the project. Because initially he says, "Okay, it's gonna be a average superhero thing." He wasn't interested. Then he looked at it. Oh my god! He read through it. This script's brilliant. There's great comedy there, and basically, he's Adam West. I want to say he's the one who brought stuff like the Bat 2C. He's the one who brought the dancing and stuff. So
of course.
So that was he's the one who brought the delivery of these lines. I mean, he was key in making and making Batman distinct like that from everything else. So it was there, but he developed it.
Okay.
And of course, just say I love it. I mean, the '60s Batman again is what it is because we get these great, fantastic moments of just for me is one moment. When I think '60s Batman, I always think of this moment, just the parking meter PSA. It's my favorite moment from '60s Batman,
which they captured brilliantly with not crossing the street PSA in Cape Crusaders.
Exactly. And again, it's just this moment of they park. I may or may not be in the first episode. It's early in the series. They pull in front of a building, and there's obviously next to the parking meter, and they're running. Batman stalling to put money in the meter, and Robin's asking Batman, "No one's going to ticket the Batmobile. What are you doing?"
Oh God.
And basically, he says something along the lines of, "Robin, this money goes to pave streets, pay for school systems, and the works." And then Robin says, "Gosh darn, Batman, you're right."
Oh God!
Put the coin there and they go in. And just moments like that hits upon what I love about the series. What I love about the series, I know it's not the most original thought, but I just love this. Is that I love that you can genuinely buy into while this Batman is not the dark brooding crusader like many of us know and love. He's still so dedicated, and he's just so dedicated to helping people and helping Gotham. He's such a role model. He genuinely cares about what he's doing. Just two guys trying to fight crime and just keep everything safe and being the most good. He's still as incorruptible as Batman is, but just less to the umpteenth brutal degree. It's he's not walking telling this is the guy who's going to be the furthest. He's going to be in Mexico on the side of that line. He's going to be all the way on one side of the globe, not even near that line. Unless we go to Cape Crusaders, when we get things really interesting there. But the point is, again, it's you can laugh at it, but at the same time, it's I can imagine kids and myself, just even as adults, admiring that quality. I'm still buying into this, just how dedicated the guy is to it.
No, absolutely. Like I said, when I saw that gag on Cape Crusaders, it just reminded me of how lovable the original Batman was and how much of a stand-up citizen he was. You know what I mean? It's almost kind of like a combat Carl sort of thing.
Absolutely. It's something to admire. And of course, another famous thing that really kind of set the tone for the series, Adam West, I bring someone because Adam West always went to this moment. One of the things we really love to bring up about the show is that at the ending of the first episode, the first two-part episode, he had this line. I forget if it was improvised or not, but it was, "What a way to go-go." When the Go-Go Girl, the only death we ever had in the '60s Batman series was a girl died. Riddler's Jill St. John, Riddler's hench girl who pretended to be Robin. She fell in the atomic pile in which they bring back in Cape Crusaders. Mm-hmm. The atomic pile in the Batcave, and then Batman has that great line again that sets the tone for the entire show. This might have been the line that really sold him on the thing if it was in there. It's just the whole, "What a way to go-go." Right. But again, without a sense of hilarity on that, just noticing he's almost shedding a tear in that scene. Oh my God, this girl has died
It's like we could do like the most ridiculous stuff, but still have pathos in it.
That's what I'm saying. And like when every time in that show, when Bruce Wayne or Batman got really pissed off when Robin was in peril, I mean, again, it's like he was going to drive in the Batmobile while he was like kind of halfway tranquilized because he had to save Robin, and he couldn't because he knew it legally wasn't right because he was going
to. Right.
Again, it was like just such a that was the first cliffhanger we ever had. Like Batman's on, he's passed it out the wheel and he can't save Robin. It's gripping.
Yeah, really good stuff.
Oh boy. So Batman's just filled with all sorts of those moments, and of course,
I mean, we could like talk blue in the face about how much we love 60s Batman. So
again, we're focusing on the man here. So just the point is, Adam West. The show went for 3 seasons and a movie, and by the 3rd season, you have another unfortunately departed member of the Batman series family, Yvonne Craig, was added to. There's Batgirl, who of course just is the reason we have Batgirl today. And essentially, the series is running low on its legs. They had to cut back on the production cost, and eventually, unfortunately, suffered the fate many shows face, which is cancellation. So it was canceled. Important note: he met his second wife because the first wife couldn't deal with the fame and stardom of Adam West, being caught up in the Batman stuff. And he met his wife that he had till the very end, Marcel, in Hawaii. Who and I love this, such a sweet little thing with them was that he was in the Batman costume doing appearances at this time, and Marcel, like with her daughter, went up to take a picture with Batman, and she wasn't all struck by Batman like every other fangirl. She just she was put off by like, I don't know why my kid's into this, but okay. And then and in that they kind of fell in love with that. She always grounds him, kind of like how Stan Lee has his wife, which is Joan Lee, who always grounds him. It's kind of a similar thing. She always has like kind of that grounding presence with Marcel. It's a really sweet thing. He met her because of Batman, even though she wasn't thrilled by Batman.
That's nice.
So then, now we reach the end of Batman. Of course, unfortunately, he was warned by this in the very beginning of the show. Like you imagine going into it, the fear of typecasting when you play an iconic hero.
Sure.
So he another famous thing we don't really talk about a lot with Adam West is that Tiki. I don't know if you know that he turned down James Bond.
I did not know that, really.
And here's the thing: it wasn't because it wasn't purely because typecasting. He was offered Bond right after Batman, and he turned it down out of respect for the fact the character is always British.
Oh, wow.
He was offered. He could have taken it because he was that famous coming off the bat. In the 60s, it was Bond, Batman, and Beatles. Those were the 3 Bs famously.
Wow.
He could have transitioned to the other B, which would
that would have been something, man. That would have been something.
That to me is the ultimate kind of classy move. It's like the character. I would do this, believe me, I'd love to do this, but it doesn't. I'd be a disservice to the material.
Right.
It's a classy move. He never gets credit for it. And unfortunately, the big reason for the typecasting years for Adam was kind of the downward spiral of his career is that Hollywood, they always just looked at Batman as like it was a lucky moment in his career. Like the stars aligned. This guy, this commercial actor, and this Western actor, he got a TV series that was really popular and really merchandised the heck out of it. But he doesn't really have any acting chops, and he's only like good for like kind of the cookie cutter superhero role. So Hollywood really showed Adam West no respect, and because of this, he couldn't get work for the longest time. He took desperate roles, which there were a lot of like kind of bad. There were some bad movies along the road, some kind of shameful movies, and he also did really desperate events. And again, this is all in starring Adam West. In case you're more curious, just focus on that. Things were so bad for him. He had to earn money to feed his family. He's had a lot of kids because the previous marriages and stuff.
Right.
So eventually, he's left 6 kids behind. So I mean, he had 2 kids from each marriage. Well, 2 kids from the 2 marriages, and 2. Marcel had 2 kids. His first wife, they had 2 kids.
Okay, got it.
Then he had 2 kids with Marcel, so 6 kids. Anyway, the point is to feed all those kids. He took desperate events too. Like he launched himself out of a cannon.
Oh my God! Wow.
Like truck stunts and everything. He did all really very desperate for work. It brought him to a very kind of self-destructive place. Like he was just driving fancy cars into not sure he drove it into something, got into an accident because
Jeez.
I'm saying things really you're not being hired as an actor, and this is something that kind of gets brought up in Batman the Animated Series. By the way, we'll get there. But so. The point is, all of this kind of builds to a point where he kind of gets out of Hollywood. He moves to Idaho in '86, and just the dark irony of that is that 1986 is kind of when Batman in the comics is doing Dark Knight Returns. We're doing all the dark stuff with Batman. So as things are getting dark, Adam West, he goes to Idaho he kind of goes back to his original life that his parents had. Being father being a farmer is kind of like rural Idaho. He raises kids and he's back to being kind of happy in life.
Nice.
Then we give slowly has like a resurgence back to Hollywood with all the '90s stuff. And this stuff we really are familiar with aside from Batman. So of course he's doing a lot of voice work just on the whole. He's doing famously there was a pilot that really informs. I bring it up now. I don't mean just to keep doing all the time. I bring this up. Look well, because this is what informs all the Adam West stuff we get following this.
So basically, kind of like this self-parody, like,
yes.
You know, like I'm awesome because I don't take myself seriously. Adam West.
Exactly. This is because of this thing. So
okay.
The reason we have Adam West as the way he is because there's this pilot he did. It was like a one-shot pilot. You can find easily on YouTube. It's called Look Well, where basically it's a parody of Batman, where like Adam West after Batman, basically instead of Batman, because they can't say that, he played a detective on TV, like a duly deputized member of the law, like Batman. He thinks he's actually a cop because the cops gave him like, hey, recognition for being a really good TV cop. They gave him a badge, so he thinks he's an actual cop solving murders and stuff, solving like crimes and stuff. He just lucks into it essentially. That's kind of the running gag. He keeps lucking into like solving crimes that police are saying, you're not a police officer. What are you doing here? He's just being kind of the crazy kind of Adam West thinking, he's actually the guy.
Right.
And that just kind of set the framework for all the stuff we see later. So take us through it.
Okay, so I guess the first thing would be sorry, Dragon, you're kind of putting me on the spot here.
Let me set it up for you.
The first thing would be Johnny Bravo, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So of course, and this definitely, Dragon. This definitely, I think for a lot of kids, like they probably had a similar experience to you, Dragon, where they saw the personality of Adam West on these cartoons popping up, like just as a caricature of himself, right? And you're like, who is this wacky guy? I mean, that's certainly what I thought. Like, I probably did. I like looking back on it, Dragon. I probably did watch this episode of Johnny Bravo before the Nick and Night reruns. Like, it probably is in the recesses of my mind watching this episode and not knowing exactly who Adam West was. I remember having a similar thing with Christopher Walken in The Simpsons. Like, my very first exposure to Christopher Walken was when he was reading Goodnight Moon on The Simpsons. Good night, Moon. Good night, room. Good night, cow. Jumping over the moon. And I was like, who is this guy? He has the most delightful voice. Anyway, so that
the hysterical thing about Johnny Bravo, though, was the premise of that was Johnny's mama is 1 minute late. It's 6:01. She's supposed to be home at 6. It turned 6:01, so he's kidnapped, like kind of like Liam Neeson takes.
Right.
He thinks she's taken, so he doesn't know he's in a panic and he's watching TV because that's what Johnny Bravo loves to do. And he hits upon a commercial of Adam West randomly has the show about Adam West helping people randomly.
Oh God.
And just hilarious. I won't get into all the seriously, folks. Check that out to celebrate the life of Adam West. Check out Johnny Bravo meets Adam West.
I mean, that might be the most pure and fine-tuned version of like the self-parody Adam West. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And he's just again, it's kind of like a Batman pair with that. It's just like if Adam West was Batman himself, just as Adam West. They go to the Adam West mobile, which is pretty funny. It's a sidecar with a little sticker of Adam West's face on it. And they do the classic Batman thing where it's like with the Riddler, where they're like kind of like there's a Third Avenue candy bar in the trash.
Oh, God.
Avenue candy bar. It must mean they've gone to Third Avenue. It's just, just John's along for the ride. And they go like fortune cookies. He thinks there might be poison in like the teriyaki sauce in the tea or the teriyaki sauce or something. It's hilariously absurd. Anyway, so that just watch that episode. I won't go through the whole thing. But the point is, the important thing is that that episode brought together not only it wasn't the first time they worked together, but this is the most favorite time they worked together. Seth MacFarlane and Butch Hartman. They worked. Yes. Like the trio was aligned here. Now, of course, both of these men would go on to work with Adam West and other animated shows they did. So they were together. They were developing a show where it would basically be a spin-off of that episode, where it'd be all Adam West in the show of his, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of fell through, but the idea always stuck with Seth MacFarlane.
You know what? I would totally go for an Adam West show over, like, the fucking Cleveland show, all right? Like, the Cleveland show's okay, but the Adam West show, man, just think about that. Just let that sit in for a minute.
Right. So let's see. So then of course, then we get Mayor Adam West on Family Guy. Based on
God, Dragon. And this, This
and again,
guy,
this is where I really got to understand what the deal with Adam West was.
This character, Dragon, this caricature. Oh my god, I have so many fond memories, like in middle school, quoting Adam West lines.
I'm a tomato.
Oh god, it's yeah. I mean, like the '60s Batman is, of course, what he's most well known for. But I'm always gonna have a soft spot in my heart for like the good Family Guy era of Adam West. Man, he was such an enigmatic standout. You know what I mean? He was such a weird character, such a weird idea that Adam West, like he wasn't playing the mayor of Quahog. Adam West was the mayor of Quahog. He was just a random, ridiculous idea, and of course he had all the all the shticks of like going around humming his own theme music and stuff like that. Adam West, Adam West. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The thing to keep in mind is that even in Family Guy's darkest hours, which we would endure these days,
I was going to ask you about this, Dragon. Like, is Adam West one of the few characters who has not been sullied by modern Family Guy?
All I can really say is that he's not bad, but just he doesn't have as good a gags as he used to have. He's there, but he's still on point. It's like,
but he's not offensive.
He's not offensive. No,
that's honestly not being offensive. It's like that's a compliment for new Family.
I mean, to be fair, again, as you can imagine, being so traumatized by Modern Family, I don't watch every episode, so I can't really like how he consists. I'm saying when I rolled the dice in the roulette game, so to speak, I just I'll take note of like, okay, well, we had an Adam West scene, like you'll say Cornish game hens, and like, okay, I'm satisfied. He's giving out Cornish game hens around Halloween. Okay, that's kind of funny. I'll do it. I can do that. Again, it's not exactly as funny as marrying his own hand, but it's
right.
It's basically they kind of tuned into the whole like Adam West reading the phone book type joke. So like anything he says is going to be funny. So that's about where we kind of land on nowadays. Sure. Now, I guess two things I want to hit on with the Family Guy here is that one, I've always loved saying that Adam West plays Adam West as Adam West. There's love the kind of trifecta there that literally he's the actor Adam West is playing
the character Adam West as the actor Adam West.
Well, as Mayor Adam West.
Oh, as right.
So he's playing himself, not only it's himself as himself, but as a character, Mayor Adam West.
God.
You get it?
So good. Yeah.
So wonderfully met, of course, the light bright. My name's not Adam Wee. Or is it? But yeah, this the one where I would like to say Seth MacFarlane always had this one story about he had this one thing he said about Adam West always amused me so much. It made me respect Adam West all the more. Mm-hmm. He said that basically I tried looking for it again, but it's one of the DVDs somewhere. It might be on a commentary, I'm not sure. Basically, he's always had this comparison for Adam West that basically this analogy for Adam West that Adam West is the kind of guy that if there was like a terrorist or like someone like in the Family Guy offices and Adam West didn't know about this, he'd probably tackle the guy. He'd probably take him down.
Right.
Well, just hearing that just sounded awesome because I could
see that. I could legitimately see that.
Like he'd probably just take him down. Also, like he just shares like the funny story. Like he says, Adam, when you try contacting you, it's like contacting the Pentagon. Adam West, him doing an impression of Adam West would say, "Well, Seth, the security of our nation is my top concern."
Oh God!
Of course, this one last Family Guy gave, then we'll move on to maybe a little bit. Moving on,
sure.
Would be. I love in the famous episode from the Good Days Family Guy was the Cleveland the Red Quagmire, where basically Quagmire to hide out from Cleveland so he doesn't beat him up. He goes to their West Mansion.
Yes.
And
yes. Oh my God.
Adam West is just so awesomely hospitable. He's going to guard me. He's wearing like a guard uniform. He's cracking up because he's thinking of like basically kind of a Growing Pains episode. Now, again, folks, all that is gold. I just want to say,
so absurd. It's so absurd.
And he's like in a British guard uniform, saying, "As long as I don't smile, you are safe." He smiles. He says he's failed. But here's the gag I love. Okay, all that's gold. But here's the thing that gets me. So that he basically, as Quagmire saying, "Okay, I'm getting a little weirded out. I'm getting out of here." Then before he leaves, Adam West arms him with something. He gives him a banana, and he says, "What am I supposed to do with this?" And Adam West just says, with this great dramatic music behind, it's like he salutes him goodbye.
When the time comes, you'll know.
Later on, Quagmire throws at Cleveland, does nothing. Just that's one of my favorites with Adam West. Again, there's a treasure trove of great Adam West.
for sure.
But
you could do like a top 10 Adam West gags on Family Guy if
absolutely.
you wanted to.
But another the other really iconic thing, people don't know him from Batman or Family Guy. This is the other thing they probably know him from. At least kids of the '90s growing up, or the early 2000s probably know him. Of course, well, Adam West is a regular reoccurring character on Family Guy. Of course, we have basically as a guest star, we'd have Catman Adam West on Fairly Odd Parents. And I love this conceit. I've always loved this conceit. I
don't have much to say about this character, so go ahead. It's all you.
It's Timmy Turner. They keep acknowledging very, very obviously, very expositionally the stardom of Adam West. Hey, it's TV's. They can never say Batman. It's TV's Adam West. And he's just randomly armed with a grappling gun. It's the idea. He's an actor who was mildly insane, where he would go and say, you'd be perfect to play my sidekick in the movie.
Right.
And I think one of my favorite ones. There's so many great ones, but really boils down to 2 episodes. One, when the Crimson Chin movie's being made.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's actually in the whole grand scheme. I think he has like 3 episodes dedicated to himself. There's the one, the Crimson Chin movie's being made. The first one's during the fashion show, where he's a judge, and they do the most 60s Batman jokes in that because they're hanging over a boiling pot of weenies.
Oh, God, right.
And I think one of my favorites is, just for randomness and all the Happy Days references, it's basically Adam West he was a kid, he was a child actor as Catman, but he was still Adam West as a kid, but he was in the full Catman regalia, like Happy Cat Kid days. So he built like a Happy Days show. You had Leave It the Beaver with Cat, Leave It to Cat Kid.
Oh God.
And like all these funny, ridiculous ideas, and basically he was been able to relive his childhood because he was a child actor, not a kid. And he basically lives it up for a day with Timmy, and it's just a lot of good memories attached to that episode. Just like fun Adam West. Like if Adam West was your pal as a kid, that's like the fun wish fulfillment that episode is. Like, oh my God, that looks so fun.
Right.
So just on the whole, just like, I always the Catman stuff I thought was great. No, they even did Dark Knight Returns with Catman. I thought that was hysterical. The Crimson Chin, they put him in the armor just like the Ben Affleck or the Frank Miller Batman. He's fighting Crimson Chin. My point is, again, yet another treasure trove with the brilliance of Adam West. And
just as a whole, to kind of sum up this era, as I said earlier, Dragon, this is the time in Adam West's career where he's like, you know what? My career is silly. My career is a joke, and I'm awesome for it. It's like he just started like I said, he started not taking himself seriously because, as you said, he had that transition in his life where he was very, very happy just being a family man and whatnot. So the pressures of Hollywood and landing those leading roles and everything were gone.
Exactly.
So he could just look back on the Batman stuff fondly and look back on just and all the crazy stuff that he used to do and just kind of laugh about it. And I kind of take Dragon. I'm kind of, from what you're telling me, I'm kind of assuming that some of this crazy, desperate stuff in the in the era where he was being typecast, that kind of maybe played into the sort of like enigmatic, weird Adam West that we got in Family Guy.
Maybe that sounds like that's a decent theory. I never really considered that.
Okay.
Let me just to process transition. I think I got enough to transition this properly. So yeah, Mayor. A lot of the reasons.
I thought that was a good transition.
Oh, sorry. I mean, that was just
I'm totally kidding.
I just had a way to literally getting us to some Batman. So.
Okay.
Essentially, so you got to remember, a lot of the reason he got these roles, like on The Simpsons especially, of course, Matt Groening and various of the other people, they put him on the shows, they have a familiarity with Batman, or like they have a lot of fan love shown to him after all these years, him coming back to basically being offered jobs instead of like him like scrambling for jobs.
Sure.
And of course, and this definitely gets us into the next thing, is that when the 89 film was released, there was a lot of buzz, and importantly, there were a lot of interviews. Basically, there was a lot of nostalgia for the 60s show. Like, hey, let's talk about something Batman related. So they have like the George Barris car, we had
right.
Adam West, Julian Newmar, Burt Ward. A lot of them did interviews and like did these TV bumpers. So that's what a lot of this. That's really what kind of started to get Adam West back in the cultural sphere in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like, unfortunately, it was like a kind of a sad punchline to it that, hey, you're about to be outshined by the Burton films. Basically, it's like when the Nolan films come out, they keep airing.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like hey, let's trot you out for one last like sideshow before you go back into Hollywood obscurity.
Yeah, so while there's like
about Adam West is that he's like, well, you know what? I'm not going to be a sideshow. I'm going to be the main attraction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So again, just the 89 Batman that gets us into kind of the dark Batman, which of course what is inspired by 89 Batman is of course Batman the Animated Series. So that's the most famous, probably the most famous guest appearance of Batman, the Grey Ghost episode.
Yeah, now the only thing I really know about this episode, Dragon, is on the Nostalgia Critics top 10 Batman the Animated Series episodes list. So, yes. I implore you to not go too into detail about it. If you want, we can obviously we'll talk about it. We'll get there on the animated Batcave.
Yeah, that's about 3 episodes down the line. We'll get to that. So.
Oh, really? That's okay. Perfect.
It's not far away. There's either 3. It's either the 4th episode or it's the 3rd episode.
Honestly, that's some incentive to like get the ball rolling on more animated Batcave.
I know. Believe me. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it. I've been looking forward. There's a lot of emotional stuff in Grey Ghost.
Cool.
So just on the whole, but the Grey Ghost, of course, is a very classy way.
I just love the Nostalgia Critics take on it. It's like, Bruce Wayne is a freaking fanboy. You're a dork, Batman. I mean, he says it in a loving way, but
yeah. Of course, the Grey Ghost, just without giving away all the really great emotional bits in it, just to cover. Essentially, Grey Ghost, what it does is that they did a really classy way of it wasn't like a cliche of hey, we have Adam West in a Batman cartoon. Let's really sell the heck out of it. They didn't do that. They did the classic thing. Let's have a loving tribute to Adam West, where we have a character, Simon Trent, who is we see Bruce Wayne got the idea of kind of a crime-fighting crusader. Instead of doing Zorro, let's say we had an additional source of what got Batman to be.
Sure.
What kind of inspired Batman, which was a show that Bruce Wayne watched in his childhood, which is The Grey Ghost, a very kind of serial-esque, black and white serial-esque hero.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, what this episode does brilliantly is it shows the typecasting years of Adam West, and really clearly you see this desperate actor is really being turned down for every role because he's being typecast as the Grey Ghost, which is a beautiful thing. And he, without going into physics, he's basically kind of his story is kind of intertwined with Batman's story. The two of them kind of meet at a certain point, which, as you can tell, has some emotional heft to it, given Bruce Wayne's attachment to the Grey Ghost.
Sure.
And it's a nice way of his Batman kind of showing some love to his hero that inspired him. So that's kind of what the episode's all about. It's a really, and again, it's played seriously. It's not played over the top or tongue in cheek. It's all it's a nice episode. It's such a nice episode.
Mm-hmm.
And that always got Adam West's foot in the door for more stuff in the DCAU or stuff in DC animation, which gets us to another. He's had other roles down the line, but I think another famous one. This one has a lot of heart, which I showed Tiki a clip of this.
Yeah, I watched the clip. I don't really know the context behind it directly, but
all I can tell you is unanimously, at the very least, as far as I'm concerned, this is the best episode of Brave and the Bold. It goes serious for one episode.
Brave and the Bold is definitely one of the Batman shows I'd like to check out because based on the one episode we did in Christmas in July, it seemed like it had a lot of potential.
Yeah, and while the series is great, I do recommend various episodes in it. It's not every episode's a winner, but I mean, by all means, it's a very fun show. And while usually the show's a little bit more they play with the fun Silver Age kind of silly '50s stuff from the comics, like all eras, but especially kind of the kind of Silver Age stuff. This episode really got kind of Paul Dini wrote this episode. It's one of the first ones Paul Dini wrote, for Brave and the Bold, absolutely, and of course he really. Paul Dini adapted a story that was a little campy in the comics, but it was a serious story about Bruce Wayne confronting the man who killed his parents. This is the first time Batman met Joe Chill, the man who killed his parents.
Oh wow! Okay,
it's a very excellent story. And basically, he adapted this old story that had a very campy ending. He kind of spiced up. So he added these flashbacks with the Phantom Stranger. This episode essentially is a tribute to Batman the Animated Series in Brave and the Bold. That's essentially what this episode is.
Which makes sense that the Brave and the Bold would do something like that because a lot of the Brave and the Bold was about kind of fan reference for stuff. You know what I mean?
This one has essentially the entire cast of this one are all very much actors from the animated series and of course. Because you have Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill, Richard Mall, who voiced Two-Face. He plays the mobster who, in the clip you saw, the lead mobster.
Oh, okay. I thought that guy sounded familiar.
And of course, the big takeaway in this episode, the best part about this episode, is that Thomas and Martha Wayne in this episode are portrayed by Adam West and Julie Newmar, Batman and Catwoman.
Oh yeah.
And it's of course, short of the Snyder take on the origin, this honestly was a very great take on the origin. I thought the opening to the episode, which they do the alleyway thing, but the scene that really hits at home in Brave and the Bold is when Batman essentially through ghostly shenanigans, he is.
That's the way to put it. Yes.
very kind of Christmas Carol, Ghost of Christmas Past type deal. He's allowed to meet his parents, but he's actually allowed to interact with them. So basically, he goes to the costume party, and this is like deep cuts, like 30s Batman comics, like 40s Batman comics.
Oh wow! Okay.
Thomas Wayne was actually in a Batman costume like this.
Right? Yeah. I remember hearing something like that. Sure.
The idea is like his parents before, like what the reason his parents got killed in this story that Dini's adapting is because they pissed off a mobster which wanted revenge, and what they did here is that basically the mobs were trying to rob a gala, and Batman, who was there meeting his parents, in this really touching scene where Adam West essentially kind of uses some of the 60s Batmanisms on him, just saying like, oh, well, I guess great minds think alike, and he says, how's your aim? Impeccable, old chum. It's like, it's this beautiful moment of Batman kind of meeting his father, and he's like, he's caught off guard, like, he comes up with a fake name, Matthew Matches Malone, one he usually is, and he's hugging his mother because he's fond of Batman interacting.
That was the moment that really got to me when I was watching it.
Like, I mean, Batman logically knows it's not real, but he's just enjoying them. Like, he hasn't seen his parents in years, and it's such a it's such a brilliant casting pull of Thomas Wayne being voiced by Adam West, because that really is a passing of the torch moment. That's really just sort of that fatherly
old
quality
generation to the new generation. Yeah,
absolutely. And we also, and it's so beautiful that we had that with this Batman. We also had the animated series that was with a big passing of the torch vibe in the Great Ghost episode as well. So that's always the tone you get when the serious episode with Adam West. So anyway, so just a lot of great stuff there. So I guess let's. I'm going to go by this one quickly. We're almost at the end here of the batch.
Yeah, sure.
But, we have Misadventures of Adam and Bert now.
Misadventures. I just kind of skimmed through some of this, so.
And this is something down the line at some point. I've been pitching this way back when, but we got to do a commentary on this at some point.
I'd be down.
This is a really good movie. There was a book Adam West put out called Return to the Batcave, and this movie essentially adapts that book, but it's more of kind of a TV movie type deal. Essentially, it's kind of like it's a biopic about 60s Batman, but like 60s Batman, it's campy. They're having fun with it. It's very self-referential, and it's like Adam and Bert's a hilarious circumstance that the Batmobile's on display at a museum, at a car museum, and it's about to be given to orphans, like for a benefit for orphans. And again, it's just them, and like Bert and Adam West after all these years, it's the older Bert Ward Adam West, like 2000.
So it's like Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy.
Essentially, yes, it's played like that. It's literally played like that. They're going on a Batman Robin adventure as older guys, and it's basically it's done in the style of 60s Batman. This whole movie, so it's instead of like everyone says, can anyone call the police? They all have cell phones, and he says, no, there's no time for that, Bert. We gotta go track down the Batmobile. But Adam, we're only actors. Do you really want to look at the sad faces of those orphans and tell them there won't be no Batmobile? Like, there's going to be no Christmas. There's going to be no Batmobile. Right. And then, gosh darn it, Adam, you're right. We got to. It's done in that style. That's what they go. Essentially, it's a road movie where as they're going on the road, they're given like a clue saying they're going to have to remember their past, and that's why we get flashbacks to like reenactments of things that actually happened in the 60s Batman show. Fewer liberties, I presume, but the rest of the stuff from the book, stuff that happened in the course. It's a great show. Like, it's a great thing of how they made the show, and it's kind of a fun reflection on all that stuff.
Cool.
So it was a fun, like, reverential kind of like really fan servicey little movie they did. And it's great comedy between Adam West and Bert, where like Adam West never pays for anything, where Bert always is stuck with paying the check and stuff, and they go to diners and stuff on the way in the journey. It's really funny. Oh yeah. Let's see. So speaking of 60s Batman, now after all this time, after all these like other projects, we get to finally 60s Batman. For the longest time, was never released. The series was never released on DVD. Very unjust, very unfair. And finally, in recent years, it has been released.
I just remember Captain Logan was so excited about this.
Oh yeah. Like, finally, we can watch things that aren't just like bootlegs or just kind of like TV Land or Nick at Night recordings of the Batman episodes. They're actually in good quality. They're remastered and everything. And fun little note I should hit, and this is especially as important given Adam West, unfortunately, is no longer with us, is that he did this DVD, and he gave it the most unappetizing title so people wouldn't watch it. It was this DVD, and it's actually sold in the set now. So if you buy the 60s Batman thing, you can get this. Through his own website, before the DVDs were made available, you were able to buy Adam West naked.
Oh no!
So again, that was the gag. It's like basically something.
Now I'm guessing that's going to be like Adam West, kind of like being all like candid and whatnot.
Yes, and essentially this is the reason he made this DVD. This is basically was Adam West feared because the series would never be released on DVD. He'd never be able to do commentaries or interviews or anything on it. So what he did is through every episode of the Batman on like 2 discs. Well, no, it's on 1 disc, but it's like in chapters. He goes through every episode. He reminisces on every episode of the series. And he kind of shares his experience and what he remembers from it, and it's like done in a kind of a off the wall Adam West style. Like he's just doing random things while he's describing it. Unfortunately, there are no clips because he can't use clips for legal reasons. Hence the whole off brand like Adam West naked stuff. Like, hey, Batman: The Real Story. So I'm just so glad they incorporated that in the DVD release. Like now you have everything. So and luckily this was released and this, so like Adam West did get his wish in the end. Everything was made available in the end. And there's also one DVD feature I want to highlight with the Batman DVDs being released. There was this hilarious roundtable interview, basically like a little promo thing where it's a promotional thing on the DVD where it's Kevin Smith, Jim Lee, Phil Morris, and there's some 4th guy. The 4 of them are like around the table, and then Adam West shows up, and basically they kind of talk to him like around like a diner setting or something, and they're asking about the show, and they're sharing like Jim Lee actually had a bat suit made for like $400 way back in the day. Actually, it might have been a lot more. But the point is, he had like a bat suit made, and as like Adam West shares stories with him, like a bunch of fanboys like talking with Adam West. That's the crux of it. And the end of it's hysterical. Adam West leaves them with the check, and he drives off. He says, "Excuse me, boys, I'll be right back." And he just leaves them there to pay his check.
Nice.
So his point is like, I encourage everyone to buy the DVDs. Yeah. Okay, and of course, Tegan and I we know the Fat Man on Batman days, of course. And,
of course.
Ralph Garman, of course, we'll get to him once with the Hollywood Walk of Fame. We got to talk about that.
Okay.
So, yeah, go on.
So you want to get into Rise of the Cape Crusaders or Return of the Cape Crusaders?
Well, real quick, we got to hit the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Then we'll hit Cape Crusaders. I promise you, this is important.
You know more about that than I do, so go ahead.
So, in mentioning Ralph Garman's a huge Batman fan. Ralph Garman, of course, he's K-Rock, a radio guy, does impressions of Adam West and the rest of the Batman villains, like especially his Cesar Romero's Joker. So, Adam West's daughter, Nina West, and Ralph Garman, they've been campaigning for many years to right a wrong. That for all these years, because Hollywood had a bias against Adam West, they never gave him a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. They give fictional characters stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, which is all nice and dandy, but the fact that we give them, like Snoopy or like other characters have stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Those I love Snoopy. I mean, he gets a star, Adam West, existing actor, doesn't. You can see something's a little off with that. So for 5 years, and finally in 2012, he got a star. Basically, they campaigned. They sent the guys who make the stars, like letters and everything. They plead, like saying, "Look, we'll pay for it. Just it's not a matter of money. Like we have to decide to give them. It's a family tradition. We're the only people that do this." So after 5 years, and again, Adam West didn't ask for this. It's like they wanted to give him like the fans. Like the only reason Adam West would enjoy this is like if the fans wanted it. And in the end. Finally, there was like a star ceremony where it was unveiled. Seth MacFarlane and Ralph Garman gave speeches about Adam West. It was a beautiful affair, and finally got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I'm glad all this stuff he got before the end here. He got recognition towards the end. Of course, the biggest form of recognition he got was probably Return of the Cape Crusaders.
All right, yeah. So Return of the Cape Crusaders, definitely one of the best animated films of last year. I would say one of the best Batman films ever.
Certainly, it's definitely top five.
Yeah, that's how much I like this movie. I mean, it just like we've talked blue in the face about it. I don't necessarily think we really need to go over all that much again, but it just really kind of just brought to mind, just how much 60s Batman was influential and how much of that stuff is still entertaining today. It brought it to mind in a very sort of tongue-in-cheek, self-referential kind of way. Like I said, the best gag in that movie, for my money, is the crossing the street gag, that PSA. I definitely think that's the strongest moment. And outside of Adam West, it was great to have Burt Ward and Julie Newmar and all those people, and of course the Wally Wingard is the Riddler and all that stuff. I don't know. God, it was just a really good good way to kind of bring 60s Batman back into the public consciousness. Do it in a cool way. Do it in a way where, you could like amp the stakes, up the scale of what 60s Batman was, and yet still be very tongue-in-cheek with it. Still kind of like almost played as sort of a Lego movie style spoof on the whole thing in a way, while still being very loving and very, very much an homage at the same time as it is a spoof. Just fantastic film. I don't know.
Absolutely. I mean, just the only two things I really got to add are, the main takeaway I got from Cape Crusaders is with Adam West is that, he got a second. The thing I'm so proud of Cape Crusaders for was that he got a second bite. Yeah, we got a second go around as Batman. Like, obviously, nowadays, wouldn't be able to don the cape and cowl, but through animation, he was able not only do that, but kind of do a work that surpassed the first theatrical film. That just it's the ultimate reward for the years he's put into the character. It's like it's a fan service with a message, and like we have a Batman. It's like him playing Batman again with adding new layers to it, as an actor would. As Adam was always the competent actor, and in doing so, he's, we got to see we flirted with kind of like commentary on like what happens when we've told every Batman story we have, and so that would encroach on even the most wholesome Batmans we have, which is kind of the message. One of the storylines in that film with kind of Batman, we get a taste of Adam West voicing kind of the serious Batman.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, like
right.
The gritty Batman, I should say, because again, he's always been very dedicated, very serious about things. It's Batman without a sense of iron. That's the way it plays it. But in addition, I just want to bring this over. It just occurred to me in the moment that what's so great that we got in Cape Crusaders is also something I got a tease of in this other thing he did, where there was this documentary made called Necessary Evil, where Christopher Lee narrated it, but basically it was like talking about villains in the DC universe, and actually, it might have been that, or it might have been this. I'm sorry. No, I got it straight. It's not Necessary Evil. It's Christopher Lee's thing, but there was this PBS documentary Liv Schreiber narrated. It's PBS. It's like in 3 parts, and what they did is they had actual actors and voice actors who have played these characters of the DC heroes over the years. They actually do they played. They have the origin page, and basically they have certain pages from the comics read by these actors. And what's so beautiful is that for a few Batman moments, very serious kind of like Batman moments, you hear Adam West giving kind of a serious read on these. And these are iconic moments. Like he gives the origin, like the whole Bruce Wayne as a child, making the vow to his parents, saying, I swear on the spirits of my dead parents, I will never watch a child be orphaned. That sort of thing. You hear Adam West kind of give that delivery. You hear him say, I shall don the omen of a bat. And even unfortunate thing we'll never hear now. That's something we heard was the Dark Knight Returns speech. The whole he actually reads a little bit of Dark Knight Returns as Adam West. So it's like the closest we ever got to that.
Nice.
So the point is Adam West getting to do new things with Batman. That was a big takeaway. So speaking of new things with Batman, of course. We should breach upon briefly. There was one last work that was in production. They're supposed to come out this year. Reportedly supposed to come out this year. No word on when or what the update is. All we knew last year this was coming as right when Cape Crusaders was being made. It was advertised just the minute it came out, so we knew they were working on it simultaneously. The last work about the introduction of Two-Face to the '60s Batman universe.
Right. Wasn't that going to be played by Shatner?
Yes, I mean Shatner's. Obviously, they still have Shatner on it, but yes, I mean that was in production, and presumably at the same time, like right after Cape Crusaders. So ideally, I could only certainly hope. And bear in mind, the reason we might still get this is because this story is adapted from a comic. So ideally, a lot of the story was kind of halfway worked out by that point. So ideally, the production might have gone a little faster into it. So
okay.
I'm hoping again. So I'm hoping that we at least get one last work by Adam West that'd be coming out this year, which would be this film, which I think would be a wonderful send off for him, that he'd be able to like a posthumous work after he's
yeah. I mean that'd be excellent. I just I really hope that is the case. The only thing is it's like Dragon, when I first heard the news, that was one of the first things I thought of, and I don't want to be selfish like that. You know what I mean? I like either way. He was just an awesome guy, and I'm gonna miss him. And either way, we should just remember. I don't think that we should be fearing oh God, what's gonna happen with Return to the Cape Crusaders 2. I'm not trying to condemn you for speculating about it, Dragon. It would be great to happen. I'm just saying like I'm kind of past it. Like if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. You know what I mean?
Well, me too. I'm just saying, like, again, believe me, if they didn't record him, I don't think they should do it. I just think it's if he's not.
Yeah, I mean, if he didn't get at least like a good like 80-90% of his lines done, then yeah, it's like I don't think it'd be worth it at all.
I'm just hoping that I'm saying, like, it wouldn't surprise me even that the voice work is the first thing, and they do the script, the voice work, then the animation. So I'm saying there's a chance that we could have recorded his lines.
Okay, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, even if he was like halfway through his lines or something like that, you know, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see either way, you know. Like, I certainly hope that they have enough material to work on. I just don't want it to be like a primary focus for anyone. I think we should take the time to remember the guy and not, like, you know, speculate. But
absolutely. I'm just thinking of like it's kind of that feeling sinking of like we're never going to hear the guy again. It'd be nice to hear him one last time. Sort of thing.
Sure.
That's all I'm thinking of. I think it's all like a lot of us are thinking of. But regardless, yeah.
I mean, like I said, I'm not trying to like condemn anyone for thinking of the sequel, but you know, it's just. Anyways.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
No. I mean, that's the end of just kind of going through the man's work. I guess now it's just be kind of saying goodbye to the man, which is gonna be the hardest part.
I have final statements, Dragon. They are not from me. They are from Julie Newmar and Burt Ward. So I will say those at the very end. Why don't you give your final piece?
All right. Again, folks, I want to emphasize this was really. It's really hard to say a lot of this because again, I couldn't really think of the words. I mean, it was really hard to kind of say the words. So I'm just going to go through it. I think I got the strength to go through it. It's really, it's not fair. It's you know, he was. It's really my main kind of thought. It's not fair. I mean, he was the DC Stan Lee in many ways. We've been spoiled with Stan Lee because you know we kind of know he's coming and knowing around that's a great feeling. Not taking away from that, but when Adam West showed up here and there in the voice roles and anywhere, just the fact we get him even just kind of popping up and other things, that was like a real treat and a real surprise. It's like something you don't see coming. And we had this. Of course, we love him because he had this dedication he had the dedication that Batman the character had. You know, he became that character in conventions. You know, he turned into he turned on that voice he had for Batman, which was the crime fighter with no sense of irony on all the time. Like he would just do it kind of like that. Really kind of he gave a fan a good time every time he met him. Like he would turn on the charm, which would be like give him a little taste of taste of that Batman he did. And just it was. And again, overall, as I said before, it's a take on Batman adults could applaud for its inventiveness, and kids could, adore, how serious and how serious Batman took crime fighting to, just these two upstanding costume citizens just doing good, protecting Gotham from a lighter brand of campy criminals and crampy madness in Gotham. It's Adam West. We should always applaud because he saw the great potential in that series, in that idea. He brought it to life. Like George Reeves almost. He suffered the wrath of typecasting. He suffered kind of the trauma of typecasting of the role of a hero. Adam West endured it. The many highs, but also the many lows of that. And because Hollywood at the time didn't appreciate his talent, they wrote him off as a lucky pop icon. But he worked his way up through the small, funny, and clever roles that we appreciate today. That and he always treated fans well and with the utmost respect every time he met him. He's always a great showman. So to me, it's so unfair that he goes through all of that. He goes through all of that, and he can be Batman again with ease through the animated stuff we've been getting lately. And just the minute we got Caped Crusader, it was like, oh my god, we can have like a whole slew. That was like I was thinking after we have a whole slew of new Batman stuff that he can do, and it'll be a lot of fun just being in this universe again. And because he's. And he's also known for at a point where he's not only known for Batman, he's known for other things that we respect him for. It's not just like him being only Batman. It's like we love Adam West for all these things, and he's Batman again, and it's like kind of like a reward for him. And just it's like sky's the limit, for this resurgency and the appreciation, And I love that he lived to see it, And while it's tragic that it's not going to be
kind of like a mirror of Carrie Fisher in a way.
In a way, yes. And while it's tragic that it's not going to be the same. Obviously, when it's not just period, it's not going to be the same. But at least after his passing, this is the thing today. As much as bummed out as I was, as really just heartbrokenly sad as I was today, so there's one thing that really gave me a little bit of hope here. It's a really nice day, which you'll get into a little bit more. But just there was this. I love this swell. Just seeing this and all the articles that kind of popped up about it. I must say that there was a swell of Hollywood showing its appreciation for him. Like many people have like tweets and everything. Like just to go through, I just list off a few names like Seth MacFarlane, Greg Berlanti, the guy who runs the CW Arrowverse and all the superheroes on there. Edgar Wright, even Edgar Wright, the potential Ant-Man director. We have Robin Lord Taylor, the Penguin himself. Butch Hartman, of course. Even Ralph Garman, Kevin Smith. Again, heartbreaking. I have a great swell of pity for Ralph Garman. He's going to feel. I think he's going to feel the most hurt from this. I feel sorry for him.
Right.
And Fox, even I'm amazed by Fox, which had the rights in the first place. They kind of gave him a send-off to Gotham's Bright Knight. Ben Affleck had one of the most inspiring ones. Actually, he said, he says he thanks the Batman who showed him all how to do it. It's basically saying to the original Batman showed us all how to do it. And being a Batman actor himself, which really touched me. It's just he's gonna. I guess he always called himself Gotham's Bright Knight. That's what everyone today has been calling him, Gotham's Bright Knight, to the Bright Knight, which is true, and I don't take that away from him. And he's that's like the only name that he came up with that describes him. Like no other version of Batman is called the Bright Knight. And while that's true, I'm going to say this. I'm going to go as far as to say, as far as I'm concerned, he owned one of Batman's other nicknames that we got recently. And I think it's absolutely true of what the '60s Batman was and what he did with it. He is. Of all the Batmans, he owned the term Caped Crusader. That's what he was. He was the Caped Crusader, And this is absolutely the last thing. This is my personal kind of goodbye to Adam West, if you don't mind. So the last thing is just I've always imagined if I ever met Adam West, which unfortunately I didn't get the chance. I've always wanted to say this to him. I always wanted to say, so if he's out there, say this to him. I always wanted to thank him for saving Batman, because at the time Batman was going to be canceled if not for the '60s show as a comic. Batman was going to be out the door; it was going to be completely gone. And Adam West, thank him for saving Batman when he was about to be canceled. Thank him for the wonderful times and voiceover he gave us, all the laughs, all the stories in Fat Man on Batman. Just leaving a great Batman work, leaving a final great Batman works, and just being a symbol of what Batman should be. That's what he was. He was always a symbol of what Batman should be. That's the last thing I got to think. Thank you. R.I.P.
Okay.
West.
Dragon, I'm not even going to attempt to follow that up. So instead, I will just read the in memoriams from two very, very, very close people to Adam West, Miss Julie Newmar and Mr. Burt Ward. We'll start with Julie Newmar. She says, stellar, exemplar, a king to the end. He was bright, witty, and fun to work with. I will miss him in the physical world and savor him always in the world of imagination and creativity. He meant so much to people. A friend said, the father we wanted. That is a great gift, no matter how you live it. All right, and finally, Dragon, just as my final statements, we'll go to Mr. Burt Ward, who I really do think sums it up for everyone. Dragon, he uses the whole the bright night thing at the end, which I think is such a sweet sentiment to him. I am devastated by the loss of one of my very dearest friends. Adam and I had a special friendship for more than 50 years. We shared some of the most fun times of our lives together. Our families have deep love and respect for each other. This is terribly unexpected. This is a terribly unexpected loss of my lifelong friend, and I will forever miss him. There are several fine actors who have portrayed Batman in films. In my eyes, there was only one real Batman, and that is and always will be Adam West. He truly was the Bright Knight.